All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The conversation starts right now. It's youth and politics, that's what we're calling it. But what we really want to know is, are they represented in the decision-making table? What do they need to do to be represented in the decision-making table? Depending on what you think the decision-making table really is. Is it economical? Is it social? Is it political? That's the conversation we're having with young people here in studio. Elsie Ajode is here with us. She's a data analyst. Thank you so much for making time. Morara Kebaso is also here with us. He's a lawyer. Asante sana for making time. Philip Pandey is here, youth inclusion advisor. Thank you very much for making time. Victor Okuna, a solar engineer at Greenex Energy, is now joining us. Thank you so much for making time. And George Ngaira, a governance commentator. Thank you very much for making time. We're still waiting for Valentine Onyango. She's a politician. As soon as she comes in, we'll rope her into the conversation. But we'd like to hear from you mostly at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Morara, I'll start with you. What is the state of the nation in your view this morning as a young person?
The nation is a crime scene. Kenya is a crime scene, needs to be closed for investigations because nothing is clear. Beginning with public debt, there is over 6 trillion that is unaccounted for. At the treasury, there is 6 billion that was supposed to buy telecom shares that's missing. If money is not missing, the one that has been spent through corrupt means, and it has been lost. So the state of the nation this morning, politically speaking and in terms of governance, I would say that we are in a worse situation than we were before, and something needs to be done about it, and there needs to be a whole overhaul of the system and in terms of how things are done. So there's need to be more prudence in the use of public funds. Okay. For instance, if I give you an example, yesterday I was at the Ikumbi road, which the president launched in July 2023. I was shocked to find that nothing has been done on the road. And more worse, when I checked the records, I found that Ken has spent 2.3 million shillings on just the day the president launched that road. So just to set up the tent and everything. So for all this money to be spent without anything coming out of it, and the place is very agricultural productive, it is a sad situation. So I feel very sad about how our money is being used, more especially our money, how it is being utilized, how it's being wasted, how it's being stolen and stashed abroad. It's mind-boggling. It makes me some lose sleep at night. Okay. Yeah. Ajode,
what is the state of the nation in your...
I'd want to say the state of the nation at this point is the citizens being in an narcissistic relationship with its government. It's a back and forth where you're trying to communicate your views or your needs, but there's a blockage or there's an attitude of, we are still going to do what you're going to do. There's a script for them to follow. It doesn't matter if the cast is okay with the script. They just go on with the script because they're the producers of it. And which is very sad because you're wondering, will my voice ever be heard? Will my concerns ever be addressed? Who am I in this nation? Am I really a citizen who has the right to voice out their opinions and for it to be worked on? So you're left wondering, what do I have here?
So you wonder whether your opinion really matters?
Yes, I really wonder if it does.
Okay. George?
It's thank you very much for having me. It's a bag of mixed goods because you then have the politicians who are now coalescing around our taxes and about to even reap more in terms of what comes from the benefits of being in the system. But then also tough times for the taxpayers because of the challenges that we've been facing for the last couple of years. You know, extremely high cost of living and inability to survive on a day-to-day basis. So the state of the nation is quite mixed up. And I hope the country can, all of us, those in governance and those who are being governed, can then be able to come up with substantive solutions that can take us forward.
All in government and out of government to come up with substantive solutions. We'll get into that in just a bit so that we understand what exactly you mean. But engineer, what is the state of the nation?
I can say that we are at the idling moment. Idling moment in a way that this country was moving towards one direction of dictatorship. But since the Gen Z came in, that day of demonstration, things changed. Since things changed that day, we are in a place of stagnation where we don't really know which policies this new cabinet are coming up with, what they're going to do, whether they're going to go back to where we were before, or they are going to have a new path where this country is going to.
Pandey?
Thank you, Trevor, and a good morning to our viewers. Always a pleasure talking to you on matters that affect our nation. And Trevor, I want to say that we are at a definitive moment. The nation is bleeding and thirsting for youth inclusion. We are thirsting to have a more inclusive nation where the voices of the youth, where the presence of the youth, and where the matters affecting the young people in this country are included on the agenda and the mainstream agenda of our country for that matter. It is evident that overall there is a clamor for youth participation in government, in the economy, and in the socials of this country. In this unfolding conundrum, especially at the background of the Gen Z protest and what has really changed the politics of our nation for good, there is a need to press pause and relook into the youth inclusion. We are missing the call. We are missing the call, and we must respond to that particular call that has been made by the young people in this country, by all stakeholders and individuals that think that for a moment we have sidelined our young people, and there is need that we really take this opportunity that has been availed by the recent crisis to really reflect on how we want to engage with the young people, with the women, with the persons with disability, and towards building a more inclusive platform that then harnesses development for all of us.
Okay. Morara, you say that nothing is clear and Kenya is a crime scene. Where do you think this clarity should come from? Is it from the people, from those in power, and what should they do to clear the air from your perspective?
I think our country has been captured. It has been captured by politicians, both inside and outside of government, and foreign interests, to the extent that the president seems to be helpless and to be a big part of it, because I cannot understand why most of the things he says or does, he is unable to follow through to them. For example, in the height of the Gen Z protests, the president came on live television and said that there will be no more church harambes. The next weekend, he was in church doing a harambe, meaning now there is a big disconnect between him, or rather the political class, and the truth. They are no longer friends. They are not working in the same direction. The president also said that he's going to have a more lean government. When I heard of a more lean government, I expected that when he announces his cabinet, he will reduce the ministries, maybe from 21 to around 14, because some ministries clearly can be merged into others. For example, the Ministry of East African Community Affairs can merge into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ministry of Public Service can be done by the head of civil service and the Public Service Commission. I expected that there was going to be a whole turnaround of events, and that His Excellency the President actually meant well. But in my view, we are back to square one. Nothing has been achieved. All that was said was a lie. And I wonder then now, how do we proceed from here? Because you see, the leader of government and the head of state is the president. Before we even talk about all other governance structures, the president has to have the vision and the best interests of the country at heart for anything to move forward. But if everything he says never comes to pass, and all he has done now is to form a broad-based government, which now I call the bread-based government, of politicians coming together to now strategize how to finish us completely. It is a sad situation, but it is expected, because when we said that we are going to audit the public debt, or we are going to be very serious about pursuing corruption, we should have known that corruption will fight back. So personally, I'm in a state of distress as regards to what can be done about our nation. I believe Kenyans have an opportunity to do something about it, either through peaceful protest or in the ballot. Yeah. And that is why I've been at the forefront of trying to do very serious civic education to Kenyans to try and make people understand in the deepest parts of the villages how corruption is affecting them, so that when it comes to 2027, people can make wiser decisions.
Yeah.
I hope they will.
But young people believe that politics is dirty, in as much as that is where the decisions are being made. When you say that the changes are being made at the ballot, will the young people present themselves for those opportunities, and will the other young people even elect them to begin with?
The problem is that, as I've told you, we have a state of state capture. Our political institutions have been captured, beginning with our political parties. Right now, if you need an ODM ticket, there's no way of getting it without buying it. No, and it's not cheaper than 10 million. So where will this young person who has just been employed, who has never had a job, who has a small business in town, where are they going to get this 10 million from to buy a ticket? The same with other political parties, even in UDA. Now, you need an amazing amount of money to even become a member of parliament. At the bare minimum, around 30 million to 50 million to become a member of parliament. This is money that the young people cannot afford, except the wash dealers. So then now, the words of Honorable Fred Matiang'i are coming to pass, that now we are laundering into our elective institutions criminals of international repute, because they are the ones with the money to run for political election. So there is need for a complete turn of events and a changeover of the system for it to give the young people an opportunity, because even those positions that were created to bring inclusion, for example, the nominated seats, you can see the kind of people that are being nominated to those seats. I need not say, but they are not known for their intelligence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jody, you had lamented that will your voice ever be heard, and will your concerns ever be addressed, and does your opinion really matter? How do you ensure that your voice is heard? Because more than 70% of the population is young people. In fact, the average age in Kenya is 19.
Very true. I'd want to say in the past 2 or 3 months, that's when the youth have been very most vocal, because we noticed if we don't do something, as we are aging, it's going to be bad on us. As the famous words of one pastor, Kitaturamba. And so you need to be very active. I'd like to agree with my colleague here. Yes, we are in a state capture and we are back to square one. And in my opening statement, I said, like, it's a narcissistic relationship. We're being given breadcrumbs. Or you want this, okay, we can do this now. But then when you're asking for more, you're being guilt-tripped and being told, now that you're asking for this, we can't do this. Kitaka hii maendeleo haitaendelea because you said no to this and this. So we are back to, so what now? And the youth have been in a position where I'd want to also say we have awakened at a later time. We should have done this way before. Let's say the previous elections. I'm a data I do is evaluate the data. You'd find that most of the youth during that time were not that enthusiastic to vote. They didn't know who to vote for. Has
or will
shaken.
we go back to our usual tribal cocoons?
I'd say it has shaken. It has made significant. If it was an earthquake, there'd be signs of an earthquake. But the thing is, how serious are they taking us? When I say they listen, but they don't listen. I don't know if you had one of the press releases that were being made
what you call the Gen Z, which forms less than 29% of the population. Then you have another 71% who are still Kenyans, which is why when we even had a debate about when the opposition made a statement about what was happening, and there was a big debate as to whether or not, for example, ODM and party leader Raila Odinga as a Gen Z and any other person that attempted to come to the mainstream media to give a voice. The SG for ODM gave a very interesting statement. He said, at no point did my party leader acknowledge that he's the leader of Gen Z, but he has people that he represents who still form part of this country. And therefore then it means that over and above the 29% that is the Gen Z, and then you top up with the millennials, it means we have a whole bunch of people that form the Republic of Kenya. And therefore anytime we have an issue that requires a debate, a conversation that requires everyone's input, I think it makes sense for me to say that then everybody has to come on the table and raise whatever issues that they have. We've struggled. The challenges of this country, Trevor, have never changed since Kenya became independent in 1963. And you know, the founding father, the former President Jomo Kenyatta, even was very articulate as far as that was concerned. He said Kenyans must not be poor, and they must not be illiterate, and you know, and they must not be sick. You know, the basics that any human being needs to do. Trevor, you have to eat, be educated, so that you can even have time to come to work, isn't it? And so those challenges have not changed 60 years down the line. And this has largely been as a result of issues of bad governance. And therefore, we go back to the table, then address what is it that Kenyans consider as basic, and what is it that then we need to prioritize as a people so that every Kenyan can feel comfortable. The worst thing that can happen for every nation, for example, Trevor, is it's the shame of the world for any country that, for example, cannot feed its people. And it gets even worse if it cannot even educate them so that they can begin to get their brains to be able to feed themselves. And so for me, the issues that just to answer your question, is that then what do we then need to do as a people then so that we can begin to gain traction, I believe is what has currently been proposed, even though many Kenyans haven't quite understood the context. Because while it's true that all of us needed to air out the challenges that we have and the very many wide opinions that we have as a people, but then Trevor, you have to start from somewhere, and I guess that's the package that we have. And as far as the national conversation is concerned, I think a structured platform that allows every Kenyan to come on board, those who oppose and those who support the government, and those who have what you call swing vote opinions, you know, opinions that are not necessarily aligned to any particular direction, but it's the interest of the nation. And then on a platform like that one, then can begin to become the best starting point in as far as how we can address the issue.
And we'll talk about that national conversation platform, which was also rejected by the Gen Zs we're talking about. So we'll see how then can that be formulated. But Victor, you also said that things changed and then stagnated, because you're wondering what policies this new cabinet is going to implement. So how do you suggest that things would have moved forward after having changed? You said that they changed and then they stagnated. What more should have been done?
Thanks, Trevor. A government is run by policies. Actually, anything that runs a government is made in policies, and these policies are formulated by our cabinet secretaries. And that is why the kind of the government you have is determined by the cabinet secretaries we have. The ones we had before had almost zero input in the policies. And therefore, this country was run by, we can term it a first order differential. If you have talked of ODs, where the equation was coming from one person. When Gen Zs came in, I think it came from first order almost all to fourth order differential equation. So that now it is not just about one person sitting somewhere making decisions for every person, but now we have different inputs from different people. I think that is where we had an equation coming from one point to a stagnated, to an idling point when the Gen Zs came in. So it is upon the government and the President Ruto. He has got his cabinets in place, and now he is starting on. Now we need to start on by formulating favorable policies. And these policies, once they are favorable, then they are able to ensure that this country moves on. What we need are services, and these services are water. What we need are roads. What we need is energy and health. Those things, all of them are only going to be achieved when we have favorable policies. And these policies are as a result of what we call the public participation. We saw a government that had all the laws that were made going through parliament, and the parliament just passes the law without any kind of public participation. So we believe that since the Gen Zs say that enough is enough for this country, we are going to have a country where every policy that is made, where every law that is enacted has enough public participation, so that you know that this law exactly what it entails and the effect it has on our economy.
All right. And Pandey, you said that we missed the call. What did you mean by that?
Really, Trevor, the call was such a loud one that we need to listen to young people. We need to pay attention to the needs of young people. We need to be inclusive. Whereas there is an argument that we made progress. Yes, there is progress that for once the government pressed pause and cabinet was dissolved, and it's not business as usual. We moved from 0 representation in cabinet to 5% of cabinet. That is 1 out of 22 cabinet secretaries being youth. We are still stagnating at 1% of the principal secretaries. We wait to see if there would be really a difference in terms of the numbers. But really, the expectation was, for example, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, for that matter, was supposed to be run by a cabinet secretary that is within the bracket and of the youth population. There is still more expectation that we would have the government paying attention to the needs of young people. The call, like I say, Trevor, is that of inclusion. Are we making progress? And you asked Morara question on the fact that young people are feeling that politics is dirty. Politics is not dirty. Kwame Nkrumah told us that seek ye first the political kingdom, then all shall be added unto you. Without losing my Christian faith, it is true that politics define nearly everything that we do, the economics, the social fabrics of this country. Like Victor says, policies are from the hands of politicians, our dominant majority of our policies. So are we going to stay away from politics? Are we going to stay away from the decision-making tables? No, we have to stand out. We have to be counted. Young people have to come out to be voted for, to represent themselves, to demand accountability. And as we demand accountability, people in power, from the president to the ministers, to people occupying public spaces, must respond. Yeah. And that is the call that they have to respond to. And Trevor, allow me to take a minute to demystify some outside contribution by Morara towards the ODM party. I am a life member of the ODM party. And I think Victor, for that matter, is, because we all participated in the last election. No one requested us to pay 10 million for the party ticket. So I think when such allegations are leveled towards a political party, towards parties that are not represented here, it's apparent that they must be justified, and those should not go unchallenged.
Okay. Let me bring in Valentine Onyango. Now, Valentine Onyango is a politician. You may remember her. She ran for Women Rep in Kisumu, and she's joining us now. Thanks for making time, Valentine. Before you came in, we were talking about, first, what do you make of the state of the nation in your own view today, and what do young people need to do going forward to be included in the decision-making table?
Thank you for having me, Trevor. I believe that as a nation, when it comes to youth and politics, we are very much behind. For example, in 2022, in the last election, you find out that almost 70 youth came out to vie for political positions, myself and my friend Pandey here included. And you realize that only one person actually made it to the county assembly. So as a nation, a lot needs to be done so that more young people are on the table of decision making. And you find that, you know, young people are having challenges with politics due to several reasons. One of them being, you know, a lack of financial resources. We also have reasons like cultural impediments, because most people think that young people do not have the enough experience that is needed, you know, to run for these political positions and to actually make it. While, you know, that is a myth, because young people are bright. We are bright out here. We can do it. So as a nation, when it comes to youth and politics, bado tuko behind kabisa, and I believe that, you know, even as the president is trying to give out appointments, I think he should do better when it comes to putting young people in these positions. Yeah, so that we do not have Gen Zs go out there, fight, and then, you know, old people who have been in politics for a long time are the same people who are coming back to take these positions. So I think as a country, we need to do better. And I'm calling out on our president to actually ensure that he involves more young people around him, so that he can feel what we actually feel and know how to go about it.
But are the young people coalescing around a common cause? And does a common cause necessarily mean a fellow young person? Because this is where the problem really starts. Because when you say the president needs to pick out a young person, the question that many people have asked, rightfully so or not, is that who did you present as the young people to be included? Because you see, people are saying that, okay, from the Kenya Kwanza side, they are their own people who they gave out. In fact, the deputy president himself said, I rallied for 7 positions and I've gotten it. On the opposition side, he gave their own people. Who did you give as young people?
Actually, the only thing that I was disappointed with when it came to these Gen Z protests were being faceless and tribeless, because if we actually rallied behind some people, then I think they would have been considered. But now, see, we went out there, fought on the street, and then people who've been in politics are the people who actually got it. One thing with young people is I think some young people do not really give each other the support that is needed. Number one, because you realize that they support people who have more money, people who can give them handouts. So they're not actually coming out to support their own, which is very unfortunate. I mean, we are trying, yes, but a lot still needs to be done. We need to be behind each other, and we need to actually be supporting each other. So I'm very sad that Gen Zs came out there and said we are faceless, we are tribeless, we have no leader, when actually there should have been some people who, even when it comes to the appointment, they can say they can give so and so. But now this faceless, tribeless thing was just not so good, even though the outcome of the mandamanos were very good.
But there are some people who say that the reason that happened is because the youth themselves don't have a common cause, and they don't see it in any of them. That's the reason why there's a problem. Like, we all agree that you want better governance, you want accountability, you want corruption to stop, but you don't see that embodied in one of you. So you can't pick up an individual. Is that really the reason, or are you saying that it's because they've been corrupted by the money that flies around?
That is one of the reasons. That is one of the reasons, because, and that is why I think that more young people should come out there, because you realize that politics has always been having older people. It's been the common thing that has been happening. So I think that young people should come out more. I'm expecting that by 2027, more young people are going to actually vie for positions, and I'm actually calling out on these young people that you know, if you come out there and you present yourself, and then you rally more young people to support you, then things are going to be okay. But the moment that we are just out here shouting and, you know, not really giving one of us the support that is needed, then we are not going to have any change.
Okay. I'll take a quick break here, commercial break. When you come back, we're still having a conversation on how to ensure that the youth are included in the decision-making table, whichever decision-making table you're looking at it from, economically, socially, or politically. But Philip Andy said that seek ye the kingdom of politics and everything else shall be added. Whether you agree or not is a whole different conversation. Send in your views at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. I'm back with my panelists in just a bit. Don't go too far.